Welcome to the Reckless Paradise, everyone. I am your co-host, Dystro. Marissa is not with us tonight because she is a little bit under the weather right now, and it could be COVID. We don't know, but please keep her in your thoughts and prayers. Not a lot of times that it's just only just me on this podcast, but very rarely we both are on together. But she is just a little bit under the weather right now. Hopefully she'll be back uh, this Thursday. So with that being said, welcome to tonight's random ranking episode 2 for Van Halen. Excuse me. So she gave me her list at a time, and off the top of the bat, we only have one song in our 10, which that's kind of surprising. Um, but the rest of them is like it's like all willy nilly. So, but we don't know where we put which thing in our list, so we're just going in blind, okay, but people. So, starting with number 10, we both went with Seventh Seal, and I think it's because it's like one of the weak songs off of the Sammy Hagar album, Pilgrimages, for us as consumers and listeners as the of the music. I think it was just because it's like it wasn't really our forte, to be honest with you. So yeah, I guess that's like it's kind of like short and sweet and simple, and it's but there's like so many other songs on this list that it's it's really kind of like bottom of the barrel. It's from Seven Seal is from Balance, by the way, in 1995, and that was when Sammy Hagar was on the outs with Van Halen at that point. So I guess I can see why it's like at the bottom of our list. But then again, it's like it's everybody's opinion. But on to number 9. So I went with Jamie's Crying, and she went with Humans Being. And Jamie's Crying is from the debut album Van Halen. And I think the reason why for me is because it gets overplayed a little bit where I am. And I mean, a lot of songs get overplayed. um, but it's not a bad song. It's just because it's just got overplayed over a lot, and I think it's just because like I said, like it's not a bad song. Um, it's it's its overplayedness affected me a little bit too, because like you hear it a lot. I hear it a lot at work. I hear it a lot on the radio, and just in general, in like movies and all that stuff. Um, but with hers was a humans being is from the album Twister, which is from the movie Twister, um, and humans being it's okay. It's another Sammy Hagar track, and I'm not gonna lie, I really enjoyed it. But that's a little bit higher on my list, but we'll get to it when we get to it. Um, but I guess it's just because it's Sammy, like she's more of a David Lee Roth sort of girl now, which she's on the right team. Um, if you're listening to this, Marissa, we love you. Um, but I think it's just because it doesn't have much of an impact to her than it does to me. But like I said, we'll get to that when we get to it. So on to number 8. I went with Cabo Wabo, and she went with 1984, which I was kind of shocked by, to be honest with you, because I thought 1984 is like, it's like one of those like standout hits and all that stuff. But she went with 1984 at number 8, and I'm kind of shocked a little bit. I think it's just because for her it's like a little bit overplayed for her maybe. Um, Whereas for me with mine, Cabo Wabo, I just don't hear it a lot. And again, it's another Sammy album. It's from OU 812 in the 1988 album too. Um, I think it's just because it's kind of like it's like I said, Sammy. He's a little bit on the outs with Van Halen at this point. Um, but for me, it's just like yeah, like I said, I don't hear it a lot, and I'm probably gonna say that for like a lot of these tracks on this list. Um, but I think for her, with 1984, I'm gonna say it's just because it's got overplayed a little bit, or she just doesn't hear it enough. Um, so I guess with that being said, on to number 7. I went with DOA, and she went with Unchained. Now, Unchained is from, uh, well, DOA. Let's start with DOA. So DOA is from Van Halen 2, and again, I'm gonna say it's just because I don't hear it a lot. It's not a bad song. It's like really good song too. It's a really fast paced song. I'm shocked that we got a Van Halen 2 track on this time. Um, but I think it's just because, like I said, don't hear it a lot. It doesn't get overplayed for me, but like again, my playlist is like 155 hours long, so it's like there's a lot of music in that time frame. But with hers, Unchained, it is from the one second here. It is from the it is from Fair Warning in 1981. So this is both David Lee Roth albums and stuff. If you go back to our Van Halen album ranking, you'll hear about Van Halen's Fair Warning and Van Halen 2 in OU812 and all that stuff too. Go check that out. That's a really good episode. I highly recommend it. I think it's just because for me, this is just my personal take on it. For her, it's probably not played enough for her. And for mine, it's just because I don't hear it enough as well. So it's like we're kind of in the exact same boat there. Um, but I think like all Van Halen songs, like they take you on a ride, and I noticed this too with like Van Halen ones, like it's their debut album. They gotta start off big. They gotta start off hot. And then you have Van Halen 2, which is another big album for them as well in the 80s, and then or in the 70s, and then you have like you have Fair Warning, you have oh god, you have 1984, which is David Lee Roth's last album with Van Halen before Sammy took over. So it's like there's a lot of like hidden gems sometimes in the albums, but you just gotta pick and choose them. And DOA from Van Halen 2 is like a stellar track. I'm surprised that we got it at all. We could have had any track from this album, but I should have said this at the top of the episode. We take all of the tracks from each album and we put it in a list and we put it in a random generator, and whatever pops up for those 10, we rank them from 10 to 1. 10 not being the worst, but it's not the best, to 1 being the best in our opinion. And it depends on replay value, if we've liked it or not. based on based on the album as well. So I should have said that at the top of recording. I am so sorry. I apologize. So on to number 6. I went with Humans Being, and she went with Cabo Wabo. So my 8 and 6, uh, for her, well, for her, her, her 9 and 6 got flipped, whereas my 8 and 6 got flipped on mine. I know it doesn't make sense, but just bear with me. Um, Humans Being for me is like it packs like a huge more of a punch for me, because it's from the movie Twister. It's a really good movie. I highly recommend that movie. It's really standout movie, I think, for me. Um, but I'm kind of shocked that you put Cabo Wabo kind of high on her list for me. I think because she just enjoyed it more than I did, and that's fine. We have our own personal takes on certain things on this show. Um, but for me, like Humans Beings, like I think it's a more of a standout track to me, in my opinion. Um, but more so on hers, I think it's just because OU812 kind of took both of us by surprise, and we kind of had heard like mixed reviews and mixed reactions on it, and it's like it's good to go in to how should I put it? It's good to go into a new album with an open mindset, because when we got out of that album, it was kind of like in the middle for both of us, maybe a little bit more on the good side with hers more than mine. Um, but it was kind of like almost like the bottom of the barrel a little bit. Um, Again, go check out that random album ranking to listen to us ramble. Um, I just don't know. I don't know what goes on in that girl's mind sometimes with her random rankings. Um, but then again, it's everybody's. It's our opinion. If you don't like it, all right. Well, sorry. All right, on to number 5. I put Sucker in a 3-piece, and she put Why Can't This Be Love? Now, Why Can't This Be Love is from 5150, and mine is from, I think that's the Fuck album, I think? Give me a second here, folks. I'm so sorry. Oh, no, it's from OUA12 as well. So we have 2 OUA12 tracks on this. Which, I mean, that's kind of shocking a little bit. Kind of shocking for me. Um, Now, why I put Sucker in a 3-piece over Cabo Wabo? I think I enjoyed Sucker in a 3-piece more than Cabo Wabo. Sucker in a 3-piece, it's like, it's like more, I guess, groovy. Um, I guess like, you could say that about every Van Halen track at this time. Um, but I'm kind of shocked that should like you put in the middle of the road. Why can't this be love? And I think it's just because like why can't this be love? It's like it kind of speaks to some of us. Um, if we're in like kind of like a mood, not a mood per se, but in kind of like a place of like heartbreak and all that stuff at the time. Um, but I put Why Can't This Be Love a little bit higher on my list, but we'll get to that a little bit. Um, but yeah, Why Can't This Be Love? That's a really good song. I recommend that from that album. Oh no, I'm sorry, just going on a little bit ramble. All right, so number 4, I went with. Well, she went with. Let's start with her. She went with Sucker in a 3-piece, and I went with 1984. I think for her, she because it's like Cabo and Sucker in a 3-piece. It's kind of like neck and neck a little bit, like 2 places. And I think she probably just, like I said, I think she probably just enjoyed OU812 a little bit more than me, which that's totally fine. You know, that's her preference. That's her opinion matters. But 1984, it's from 1984, and um, that album was a huge standout to me because like when we were finishing the pilgrimage back last year, um, we were going to be ending with either 1984 or 5150, and those two are really good albums too. So we were going to be sure certified finishing with a banger album. And when we got to 1984, I think our expectations were blown out of the water because we kind of knew like how significant and inspiring this album was because this was David's last album. He's going out with a bang and all that stuff. And then Sammy comes in on the next album. And so Sammy had kind of like shoes to fill for David, but David's more charismatic than Sammy. Um, Again, that's just my opinion. I bet a lot of people say that exact same thing. But I think for me, like 1984 is like it's kind of high in my top five because like one, it's like it's about 1984, and 80s at that time was like really good for like music, movies, and pop culture and all that stuff, and I know Marissa when if she's listening to this, um, she would love to go back to the 80s. Like, she would want to go like see like, Def Leppard when they were growing into superstardom and see, like see like a lot of these big huge bands like Van Halen, AC/DC, Def Leppard, Styx and all this stuff. And um so I think for her it's kind of like not a middle of the road sort of pick, but in her own way, Sucker in a Three Piece is kind of like I think that Sammy track is just a little bit more than Cabo Wabo. I know it went off probably on a tangent here, but um, so top three. So this top three for me was kind of tricky because there's two Sammy tracks in my top three, and there's one David Lee Roth track on my top three. So I went with for my number three. I went with Why Can't This Be Love, and it kind of is because I hear it on the radio a lot, and I hear it at work, and I hear it and when we listen to 5150, it just brought me back to childhood when I heard it on like certain things, and I think it's because of that nostalgia. That's why it's at my number three. It's not higher than that. It's not lower than that. I think it's just because of the nostalgia factor. For me, that's why I put it my number three. But with hers was DOA, and like again, going back to the Van Halen 2 thing, I think it's just because DOA for her was kind of like a standout track to her. Um, I mean, it's a solid track. I mean, I can't complain with that. She has good music taste, just like I do. Um, but I think DOA for her, it's just like, I think it's just probably because of the lyrical content, maybe. Maybe it's because of like the sound of the guitar or David's vocals or something. She would probably let me know after this recording. Um, but both albums were really good and solid. Um, I wish we had more Van Halen stuff to cover, but it's like after 2012, it's like, there was not much left to do. Um, but, with that being said, on to number two. I went with Summer Nights for number two. She went with Jamie's Crying. Now, I think for her, I'm not gonna vouch for her sort of thing, but I think maybe for her, Jamie's Crying is like a little bit more sentimental value. And plus, like, it's Van Halen one album, its debut album, so like this is like fresh into superstardom for them, and I think it's because of the lyrical content, maybe too. I really don't know. But Summer Nights for me is another Sammy album. It's 5150, and I'm kind of glad that we've got Summer Nights because Summer Nights is like one of those like no pun intended, but it's a summer song, if you want to put it like that. It's a summer song where it's like you're talking about like ain't no way I'm sitting at home tonight, and they're trying to like find go party and all that stuff and have fun with their friends before school like school starts back up again. So it's like summer nights um and it's just about having fun. It's a groovy track too. This whole album as a whole, 5150, was kind of like it was groovy, but didn't have to. It wasn't overstaying welcome groovy sort of thing. If you can make that make sense. Um, but I think Jamie's Crying for her, it's like I guess it like I said, it's probably the sentimental value. Um, or maybe it's just the like logical value, I guess. Really don't know. She'll probably let me know after this recording, like I said. Okay, enough of me rambling. On to our number one track. I went with Unchained, and that is from Fair Warning. Unchained is like one of those like banger tracks that I think it's just because it's like it's in your face and it's kind of raw and it's like it's 1981, so it's like we're just like a year into 1980, and it's not the worst album, but it's not the best album. It's kind of like right in the middle, and it has like Mean Streets, Unchained, like some others that I'm probably forgetting about, um, but it's like it's really really raw. It's really really good, and Unchained. It's like I hear this song a lot at work sometimes too, and it doesn't get overplayed for me that much, so that's why I put it at my number one. And I think she would probably be shocked that I put it at number one, because she put it like kind of way a little bit low on her list. But I think like with me, it's like she hears it a lot, whereas I don't hear it a lot. And I think that replay value for me, it's like whenever I hear it, I'm like, oh, okay, like I'll get into it and stuff, and it gives me goosebumps. But like I said, like I just don't overplay it a lot. But for her, she has Summer Nights at number one. So my two, I had Summer Nights at number two. She had Summer Nights at number one. So we just kind of like flip flopped a little bit, which I mean that's okay. At least it's in our top three, and I think she would probably be happy for me. It should probably be proud of me to put that high. Um, like I think I said probably like what I said about Summer Nights. Like it's about the end of summer. Like it's like summertime. We want to go out and have fun with your friends and party and all that stuff, and just spend summer nights with people that you know and you love and all this stuff. It's like like fairs coming up for her in the summer. So it's like she's trying to spend as much time with like friends and family as possible, and at the end of the day, it's like summer is gonna be coming to an end a little like in months, but it's the nights that they have or that we have as people. It makes the world worthwhile, and it makes the moments worthwhile. And if I could be like a little bit of a wise man here, if you take anything away from this episode, music is universal. It helps with everything in my expertise. It's helped me through like depressing moments. It's helped me cry on occasion because it's like it makes me think about people that I know and love. And, and same for Marissa too. Um, it's it's helped us as people, as humans, to get over certain emotions. Like if we got angry, we put on an angry song, and then we get happy again. Or it's like if we're in a mood for a sad song, we'll put on like Simple Plan, for example, or we'll put on like Pantera or and something. But music is super universal, people, that you do not even know how much an impact it has on us as people. That musicians today, they are thanking us for keeping them going. And so we should try to give back to those musicians that keep us going if you take anything away from this episode. That's my little word of wisdom, or my wise words of wisdom today, if you want to call it that. But yeah, so that's our list. What do you guys think? Let us know in the comments down below. Um, and where would you rank these top 10 songs on your list? Let us know also in the comments down below. Now, Marissa, since she gave me her song of the night and she's still not here, Marissa's song of the night is a Pink Floyd song, and in honor of a specific album turning 47 today, which is titled Animals from Pink Floyd. Her song of the night is the song Sheep by Pink Floyd, if you hadn't know this already. It is Sheep by Pink Floyd and is on the album Animals, and it will be at the top right hand corner of the video. I don't know if there's a music video or anything, but it's probably just a uh, still image of the cover art, and it's just a music, it's just music only. That's it. Um, but yeah, and happy 47th birthday to Pink Floyd album Animals. So, with that being said, also this Thursday will be a rekindling back to a episode series that we've been doing for a little bit. We are picking it back up this time around is rivalries. Now, the rivalry that we are doing this time is a, how should I put it? It is a rivalry that spanned almost 8 years. It started FCW, which is Florida Championship Wrestling, turned into NXT, and then it went into WWE, and then said person had left to go to AEW. They kind of finished it a little bit, but we are talking about Dean Ambrose versus Seth Rollins. Now, I'm just gonna give you a little history lesson here. They started the rivalry in FCW in 2011, and it kind of ended in 2019 because Dean was on his way out, and it kind of ended abruptly a little bit, but we'll get more into that this Thursday. But thank you guys so much for listening or watching. Staying to the very end, we do greatly appreciate it. Go follow us on YouTube. Please hit that post notification bell. Please like and subscribe. We do greatly appreciate it. We have a link tree which has Twitter, Instagram, our YouTube channel, my gaming YouTube channel. What else? And I think at the time of recording, I am 1,122 right now. I could probably be wrong. Could be going up or down by this point. And I think that's it. But thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you this Thursday. Peace!